Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 359. My opponent kicked off with e4 and I decided to play the center counter d5. Not a very common move, but a nice change from the usual e5s and c5s and knight f3s. And I actually haven't played the elegant defense much. I usually play French. Sicilian French or traditional. But this is a fine way to play. Maybe slight, white gets a slight advantage compared to other openings. White gets a little bit more of an advantage because black has to waste some time recapturing the pawn here. But you do get some open lines for your pieces and get an interesting game usually. So I recommend d4 here. Knight c3, which my opponent played. This is a playable move, but you have to follow it up correctly. And the right follow-up here is to just keep developing your pieces. You don't really want to exchange this guy off, or if you do want to exchange it off, at least make black waste a tempo with the trade. So after bishop c4, this might go. Let's just put it on the board. I could take here, knight takes c3. Most common is knight b6. Let's take a look at the knight takes line just to see if there's any tricks there. Yeah, queen f3. Common trick you see in these open games. So you gain a tempo, so you don't have to take back right away. e6 to block that, and then queen grabs the knight. So you get the knight, you get your pieces out, and that's a reasonable way for white to play. And so knight b6 is the more common move, and kicking the bishop back to b3. And white has gained a little bit of development and can follow up with, well, I'll play knight c6, and he can follow up with the d5 move or his knight development. So that would be a fine way for white to play. But just taking back right away, this sort of gives black exactly what he wants, and the position is already evaluated as even by the chess engine. So just remember that. You can play this knight c3 move against the Scandinavian, but you need to follow it up with bishop c4. Okay, so knight f3, reasonable developing moves here. I play e5, and we're out of the opening book. Let's look at the notation tab instead. He plays c4. This is really a mistake. It's a positional mistake. It leaves him with a backwards d-pawn. In fact, you see the advantage starts to drop already. I just dropped my queen back to d6. But black often in the Scandinavian gambit will sacrifice a pawn just to get to this position where white puts his pawn on d6 and he has pressure against it. And now I'm getting it for free. So this has to be good for black here. This way of playing. So instead of c4, just develop the bishop to d3. That's a funny way. Or just play d4 anyway. Anyway, he went c4, I dropped the queen back, and he goes queen e2. And just keep developing knight c6, clamping down on this square. So now, he's got this hole in his position that he's created, and he's not getting out, and the evaluation already thinks, yeah, this kind of position is worth a pawn, right? I could have sacked a pawn to get to this position and still been okay. So he plays queen e4. I just keep on developing. d3, castles, and bishop g5. Okay, trying to develop his bishop actively. It looks like, yeah, this was another mistake. It's not going to do a whole lot here. I decided it looks like I could take it. I could throw in this check with the queen. I decided just to block with f6, which keeps some advantage, but it's not the strongest move here. And bishop to d2, the bishop drops back. Keep developing. Bishop e2, getting his other piece out. This is good. Queen back to d7. I'm thinking of ideas like bishop to here. He tries queen h4, realizing his queen is going to be chased away. He wants to get some kingside activity going. I go bishop f5 anyway because I want to target this weak d-pawn. And now he plays the crazy move knight g5. So, you always want to look for tactics like this, but when you're giving up a whole piece, you want to make sure you have some compensation, and I don't see any compensation here. It's he can win a pawn for the piece, but he has to give up too many pieces. Has to trade off too many pieces. He's just given up one piece, and he's got a pawn for it. So if he had, in exchange for that sacrifice, if he had some kind of attack with the queen and the bishop against my king here, it might be good. But his bishop can't come out along this diagonal. It's blocked by his own pawns. And well, it's my turn here. I play knight d4, just getting my pieces to a good central post, getting it ready to support the king's side here if necessary. Maybe even coming back to e6 there to chase the queen away. And he goes bishop h5. And, well, the pieces are starting to gather around my king, but you see they're not doing a whole lot. And if you just do a simple count, I've got 4 pieces here that are in position to defend, and he's only got 2 pieces to attack. So you could sort of see early on that this sacrifice was not going to work. So anyway, that's just a simple way to see if you have any chance of succeeding with your sacrifice. If you can't calculate a specific line, you can at least count the pieces and see if you have a predominance of force after the sacrifice in the neighborhood of your opponent's king, and then it still might be worth playing in a speculative fashion. But this was just no good. Okay, so I grab the pawn, plays rook d1. This is good, trying to get some threats going against my pieces here. Looks like I could have played knight c2. It's an interesting way to get out of it. I just went queen f5 here, and this simplifies. It's not the best move, but it simplifies, so it's kind of the easiest way to play. He can't take the bishop because the queen defends it. He doesn't have any particularly good retreat for the queen, and then I can just grab another pawn if the queen goes somewhere. Oh, and I'm also threatening here, so he would probably have to play, if he didn't take my queen, he'd probably have to play his queen back to queen back to g3 to defend, and I can just grab another pawn. Notice my knight is defended by my own pawn, so the rook is not making any threats. Okay, so he took queens off, which was the best move under the circumstances, but this is just a losing endgame now. He castles, gets his remaining pieces into the game. I kick the bishop. Bishop drops back, and well, I just trade off. It disorganizes his pieces, and I'm still a piece up, so I'm going to have a good position here with this bishop e3 move. I realized that he could go after my e-pawn, but I was already thinking, well, what kind of checkmating patterns do we have here with the rook and the bishop? And I just need to get a rook on this file, and we're close to a checkmate. Although it was interesting, I couldn't quite set up the checkmate I wanted to. So he takes here. Bring my other rook over. I have the idea of coming up this way, basically, to deliver another check and chase the king away from f2 there, break through on f2. He plays rook e2, defending. The other rook, cancel that. Rook e2, defending. And so I bring my rook up to f5 now, still threatening this check. Plays b3, I give the check. And the king has to go to the corner, and I spent a long time looking for a mate, and there's no mate here. Sometimes there's these mates because the bishop can go here with check, the king is forced to move to g1, and then the bishop can move to any square it wants to. But in this particular case, the place the bishop might want to go to is blocked by my rook. So I don't really gain anything by doing that. So I decided to just try and gang up on the f-pawn, so I played the move rook g2 here, protected by the bishop and double attacking this. And now he should play rook d to d2, ganging up, and the game would continue. I still just have a tremendous material advantage, but I'm not winning immediately. Instead he plays this rook here to check. I guess he can still come back and defend at a certain point, but he fails to do that. He brings the rook, he brings his d rook to d8. Okay, yeah, so he brings his rook down to attack, and now it's a mate in 7. So I start with rook f takes f2. Either one works. Okay. And he gives a check. I run away to h6, and there's just no more checks here. He brings his rook back to defend. Rook takes g6. Okay, that's just sacrificing a piece to gain one move. But rook to d1 is the only try, but now there's just a mate in 3. And it's one of these instructive mates where you chase the king away from the rook that's undefended, and then you deliver the mate with that rook. So you have to leave this rook here defended by the bishop, and then the other rook, even though it's undefended, can deliver the mate. So common mating technique, Hope you guys enjoyed this little overview of the game. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.